Hello, everyone. Welcome to Red Men. It is a Liverpool fan interactive show. I am Paul Machin. It is lunchtime. Thank you so much for those of you who've taken the time to join me here. If you want to interact with me, you can do. You can do by just dropping a comment into the live show chat. And if it's good, if it's interesting, if it provokes debate or has some sort of insight, then I will. Then I'll put it up on the screen. It's as simple as that, really. Just quickly scouting through some of the ones that have gone through. Actually, there's one I wanted to draw attention to for no reason other than I'd never heard of this footballer prior to yesterday when someone else mentioned it on a live show. But Russell Stubley saying, would anyone take a Kamada on a free transfer? And I think the simple answer to that from my very quick Google is Lazio. Lazio would take him on a free. Apparently, they've agreed personal terms with him. And that's probably all there is to say about that, really. Yes, we're going to be doing just some generalised news updates, a few bits and pieces of updates on Alexis Mac Allister. Obviously, went off a half-time versus Bayern Munich yesterday in the friendly with what looked like a knee injury. There has been some talk of transfer bids. There was a very short-lived but very big breaking news that a secret bidder for Moises Caicedo had emerged from the Premier League. And then there was a follow-on to that. I'll come to that. And then we're going to do Lavia as well, because there's another little twist in the tail. It's not a wild twist. It's not a particularly big twist. It's probably an expected twist. And obviously there's talk that Liverpool have also lodged the bid for another midfielder. That was yesterday. I believe Steve might have covered that on Bite Size already, but I haven't talked about it yet, so I'm going to do that as well. Right. Let's dive in. Sorry, I love it when I just see some few random comments. Someone talking about the sister and Trent's hair. Oh, right. There we go. Harrison, just because why not? Harrison Givens, any words for my sister Connie that hates Trent because of his new hair? Is that because did she love him because of his dreads? And now she hates him because of it. I would suggest that Connie is a very vapid human being if she can hate someone solely based on a haircut. Now, I understand why you might hate Phil Foden because of his hair, because he has got an absolutely loathsome haircut. And he's also got a very punchable face. So, add them together, I get that. And also he's not a Liverpool player, and he's a mank. So he's a mank with one of the worst haircuts on the face of planet Earth, and he's got a very diggable face. I can understand how that might all contribute, but there's more. There's maybe a deeper psychological thing at work here, Harrison. Was she hurt by someone who once had a haircut, had long hair and shaved it short? Was a boyfriend of hers maybe she was a really deep relationship and he had long hair, and then one day he turned up and he'd gone for like a number two and a fade or whatever, and then dumped her, and now she's got some sort of psychological scarring. Wherever pluck this is from as an example, couldn't tell you. Couldn't possibly tell you. Right, cool. Anyway, should we crack on? Should we crack on with the thing? Actually, here's one before I do, because I'm going to do a video on this. I think tonight. Spoon Toon. Do you think Maka could do something in the six? I think Mac Allister could, but I think it's a little overstated how much of a DM he is. I was looking into this because I've got this notion that's been handed to me without doing the research about how he's played as a number six, and he certainly has. But I actually went through Liverpool's options in the squad to see, because Klopp's talked about there being no proven number six, and I obviously agree with that. But I wanted to see who had played the most games as a number six for Liverpool, and the answer is actually quite interesting. So I'm going to do a video on Mates TV this afternoon about that. Yeah, look, I don't know. Look, again, to be clear on all of this, Cyber, he has got a very diggable face, but then again, so have I. So that's one of those things. He does. Look, he's just a person. You know what I mean? And we can say this, and I say it all in jest. I honestly would. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm about big belief in peace and conversation and negotiation over immediate acts of jumping to violence. So when I say it, know that I say it with a smile on my face and as a joke. Yes, right. Sound okay. Cool. Let's do it. So anyway, yes, Alexis Mac Allister went off injured yesterday. Klopp has given a positive update. This is Anfield.com. Um, while the majority of players were given at least an hour, Mac Allister was one of three players brought off at half-time. Unlike Matip and Diogo Jota, though, the Argentines' withdrawal came after an injury concern, with physio Joe Lewis attending to him at half-time following a clash of knees. There were obvious fears raised, particularly given the lack of options in midfield, but Klopp gave a positive update after the game. It was knee on knee. He could have played on, the manager told reporters. The first information I got was it was too painful, so it was clear that we would change. No need to push him through. When I spoke to him after, he said, no, I would have been fine, but we didn't want to take any risks. It was just knee on knee, bruised. He was fine. Yeah, it was interesting to listen to Klopp's post-match press conference, and he kind of said that, and he didn't go as far as to say this, but he said this in situations in the past. It's like, if that's a proper game, if you're playing Bayern Munich in a European, in a European clash in the Champions League, wow, God, what memories. He plays on because he does, because it's just enough. It's a bruise, but it's pre-season, and he actually said his biggest takeaway from the Bayern Munich game was that there's no injuries. We've not picked up any injury concerns, and I thought that was like quite telling. There's almost like a big sigh of relief when you get to a game and no one's injured. And I thought, well, that's a bit odd, isn't it? And then I watched Sky Sports News this morning, and Gabriel Jesus has just gone for surgery because he felt something in his knee, and Christopher Nkunku has got an injury problem as well. All of a sudden, it's like, actually, yeah, you realise this, you get really optimistic about a new campaign. And there's obviously so many reasons to be optimistic for Liverpool. Least of all, of course, obviously most of all the attack. But when you lose a couple of new players to injury, you do start to think, well, starting a new season and your new stars, the ones who are meant to carry it on, if they're not fit and available, then that can be a concern. And Mac Allister's clearly very central to plans. There is, barring unforeseen circumstances, there is no world where he's not starting the first game of the season. I think it's questionable whether Szoboszlai will. But I think Mac Allister, I think we're building that midfield around him. So yeah, that is very, very positive news anyway, because there was a little concern. Right, let's crack on. So the wildest rumor of the day or the week so far, Football Insider, Footy Insider 247 on Twitter yesterday evening, tweeted exclusive. And they've got the red klaxons, so you know it's probably bollocks. We have been told that Liverpool are the mystery club to have made a sensational move for Caicedo. Sports Pito has the story. Pito Rourke, transfer correspondent for Footy Insider, apparently had the full story. So yeah, there was talk yesterday that there was a mystery bidder, and then that was coming via the Premier League. And just to follow this down the rabbit hole, revealed Liverpool the mystery club to have made a surprise move for 100 million. Moises Caicedo, sources. Liverpool are the mystery club to have joined Chelsea in the race for Brighton midfielder. Moises Caicedo, sources have told Football Insider. Chelsea have been leading the chase for Caicedo all summer and have had multiple bids rejected by the Seagulls as they hold out for their £100 million asking price. Football Insider has now learned Liverpool have been in contact with Brighton to register their interest. We'll be blocking those notifications. Thank you very much. As they desperately look to add to their midfield options. According to The Athletic, an unidentified club are claimed to have submitted an 80 million plus bid, surpassing Chelsea's most recent offer. Let's follow this thread. That was in their transfer latest. I have a feeling we'll have missed out on that if that's just in there. Oh, there we go. Brighton claim offer rejected for Caicedo. Chelsea could face stiff competition in their pursuit of Moises Caicedo. The Brighton claim they've received a bid from a yet unidentified club that surpasses Chelsea's most recent offer for the 21-year-old Ecuador international with a total of 80 million. They're intent on holding out for their asking price and won't budge on comparing Caicedo's value to that of England midfielder Declan Rice, who moved to Arsenal from West Ham, which is total bollocks, by the way. That is total bollocks that they should use. I mean, I get that he's a reasonable comparison, but in terms of how much football they've played and age and all that kind of stuff, I'm not convinced. I mean, I get it's a decent starting place. It's an internal Premier League move, of course. But yeah, that seems a bit of... But anyway, this has got all the hallmarks, by the way, before I get into the Liverpool side of things, of Brighton. I mean, Yeah, Brighton have basically let it be known that an unnamed club have come in with a bigger bid. Have they, Brighton? Has someone come in with a bigger unnamed bid than Chelsea, who so far remain the main and obvious target, the ones who aren't quite reaching the valuation? Have they? And yeah, I mean, there's reports now coming out subsequently that it's meant to be a Saudi Arabian club, which I'll see if I can track that down as we're going through this thing. But anyway, Ben Jacobs, who's been very good in the transfer market so far, he says that Moises Caicedo camp have been told by Brighton that an 80 million plus bid, surpassing Chelsea's rejected offer from a new unnamed Premier League club, is confidential. They don't know the identity or whether the offer is real. However, contrary to some reports, LFC have not bid. So somebody's done a very smart diddle there in terms of getting themselves some views, some traction and what have you, and maybe some clout. And yeah, basically putting Liverpool's name towards the Moises Caicedo stuff. Look, when Liverpool are very much in the market for a defensive midfielder, they're going to get linked with absolutely everyone, and it's not going to hurt the selling club's situation to have Liverpool be linked, because they want to give Chelsea a kick up the arse, basically. And I think honestly, there's a little never-ending negative spiral going on here where Southampton could really do with that Caicedo stuff halting, so that Chelsea will come in for Lavia and maybe create a little bit of a bidding war and drive Liverpool on. So yeah, and then Chelsea could do with their interest being in Lavia being better known, so that they can let Caicedo and Brighton know that they won't be held to ransom. And it's interesting that Liverpool going for Andre, which I'll talk about in a second, helps Liverpool's case with Southampton to say, well, look, if you don't want to, acquiesce to our demands, then we're happy to move on and go for the targets. And Lavia's dream move to us is in jeopardy. So much gamesmanship going on in the transfer market at the moment, but I would be very, very surprised if Liverpool went for Caicedo, because ultimately he's not worth 100 million. He's just not. And look, Declan Rice wasn't worth 105. And there does come a point where a player is worth what he's worth. A player can be worth above market value if you've got a desperate need for them, and that might be why Liverpool are going to end up paying over the odds for Lavia. Because again, what's he? A £20 million footballer? Really, realistically, he's playing in the Championship. He's done 3/4 of a season in his professional career. Yeah, there is that. Right, let's move things on then. We put that to bed. So this was obviously yesterday, but I just want to talk to you a little bit about it. I've got this via this is Anfield again, but it was everywhere. ESPN were reporting it yesterday. Report Liverpool bid £21 million for midfielder Andre, but no deal this week. Liverpool look to be stepping up their efforts to bring Andre to Anfield, with reports claiming a formal approach has been made for the midfielder. The Reds are yet to land a defensive midfield signing this summer, with the recent exit of Fabinho accentuating the need for a number 6 specialist in this transfer window. Sky Sports' Melissa Reddy wrote on Wednesday morning that a 20 million figure had been mooted for the 22-year-old, with Fluminense reluctant to sell, given that the Brazilian transfer window closes on Wednesday, the 2nd of August, which was yesterday. And obviously that relates to them buying in. But ESPN Brazil have since claimed that Liverpool have made an offer of 21.6 million, rising to 25.9 million for the Brazilian midfielder. While the approach signals progress towards a possible deal, the current indication is no definitive decision is expected for Fluminense until next week. The Brazilian side wish to hold off on their response to Liverpool until after the second leg of their Copa Libertadores clash with Argentinos Juniors on Tuesday. Leaves the Reds in a difficult predicament, given their urgent need for reinforcements with the start of the Premier League season just around the corner. Klopp side travels to Chelsea, blah, 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 blah. Yes, there's a lot of, I think the smart sort of outside the box thinking on this is that Liverpool will probably agree a fee for him, but to come in January, which obviously doesn't solve the problems in the immediacy, but it does take a little bit of the pressure off in some regards, because it means you go and get Lavia, you probably want 2, but if that's second, I think Liverpool want 2. I think Liverpool are going to sign 2 more midfielders, but I've speculated that they'll get Lavia done at the right sort of price, and then they'll give themselves the rest of the window to go and solve the next step of that, and that's maybe someone who can do a bit of DM, but a bit of centre back, or a bit of DM and a bit of 8, or be a bit more versatile, and is maybe a bit more of a senior age player, a bit more of a jack of all trades. but they'll wait and see. They'll wait and see what develops in the market on that one. Is my general that's my general gist, I think, on what's going reading between the lines and hearing some bits and pieces. Let's do Lavia in a second, but have anyone got any thoughts on DeAndre stuff, by the way? What do we think? Do we like him? Do we think he's the kind of player that Liverpool should be targeting? Are you excited by us getting another South American into the side? Let me know in the comments if you don't mind. Just take that off the screen for us a sec. Thank you. We'll come to that. We'll come back to that in a minute. But yes, I like the look of Andre. I don't think I said this yesterday. I'm a little concerned about his physique, but also, as was mentioned yesterday, I love Javier Mascherano. I like small, aggressive footballers. There's just something to them. It's the thing I can never truly appreciate, having never been small. But I know lots of people. Chris was he's a bigger man these days, but he was always very small, and they call it little man syndrome. Don't do it. He was always a very, very, very aggressive. Had a lot of points to prove, and you can see that in some absolutely phenomenal midfielders over the years. So yeah, I just want the best that we can kind of get hold of, and also it's lads who've got progression, and also again, this is the thing that gets lost in Liverpool's transfers sometimes, is that it's got to be the right mentality. You can have all the best attributes in the world, but the wrong mentality. I think about it like David James had everything you need to be a great goalkeeper, apart from the psychology. Stan Collymore had everything. Could have been the complete centre forward. There was nothing Stan Collymore could do. He was pacey, he was strong, he had great feet, he could score from anywhere on the pitch. He was very creative with the football as well. But psychologically, he just wasn't there, and again, there's all kinds of different things. That can be the missing thing. Sometimes you look at a footballer and go, I don't quite get why we've signed him. Gini Wijnaldum, great example of that. We're signing a winger from Newcastle. Well, why? And then you get him in, you put him in the heart of the midfield, and we just unlocked an absolute warrior. It was brilliant. 811 YT, love a little Gattuso type player. Great example of that. Absolutely. And Brenny here, I'm rightly saying, let's just promote Jay Spearman. He's there. He's at the club. He's got a contract. Sure. Richard Hutchinson, thank you. Get Andre 20 million and Tyler Adam 20 million. Get a centre back and a right back. Sure. Sounds pretty straightforward to me, to be honest. I don't think we're going to get a right back. I think the thing we're really crying out for is a left-sided centre half, big time. Hampus Borg. Andre's cool but underwhelming. Most links feel that way. Lavia is a great prospect, not a starter. Same with most players I've heard. Decore is the only one I think would hold his own directly. And that, you're right in so much as there's something to just signing Premier League experienced footballers. Because they're more likely to come in and hit the ground running. Now, there's always exceptions to that. So everyone goes on about how it took Fabinho half a season to settle in, but also Jordan Henderson was doing a really good job at 6. But also we started Naby Keita that season. He plays the first game of the season and plays a run at the start because he was deemed as being good enough to go in and have an impact straight away. But there is something to that. It definitely is a thing because you can't know. There's so many unknown factors in footballers, and we forget this sometimes because, again, a lot of us have grown up on Football Manager, where the stats are the most important thing. How good their passing is, how good their adaptability, blah 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 blah. You can plug and play. There's other things that can never be known. There's a famous story about Fabio Borini who just signed and got chucked in like a hotel with all his boxes of stuff around him, and then crack on. You're a Liverpool player now, son. Didn't get like properly settled in or properly integrated. Again, living out of, I guess, like tea chests full of his possessions. And that can be a thing. There's a variety of reasons why footballers don't settle straight off the bat. Let's see. Nikhil with the super chat. Our rest defence is bad due to the way we position ourselves. Our best defence is bad due to the way we position ourselves when in possession. The wide areas are easily targeted with a long ball, which is why I think a dynamic centre-back is as much a priority. Yeah, that definitely. I think the thing that I think about this is that Liverpool have always been targeted down the flanks because we've always played with our fullbacks really high up. I do agree that the mobility of our centre-halves is a big deal, and that's why Matip concerns me a bit. I like the look of Quanta. I've got no issue with Quanta being our understudy centre-half. You know, if we have an injury or two injuries, he's on the bench. I don't think he's ready to be starting big games of football, but the Europa League is a massive potential proving ground for a number of our young footballers. I mean, just look at Arsenal last year. That gives them a breeding ground to go and try things that when you're in the Champions League you don't get to do. You know, you get in the Europa League, you can maybe you start strong to get your first points in the bag, but there's home and away games where you can feel a more weakened or rotated side. Whereas in the Champions League, you'd only get to do that in the last couple of games if you've put strong performances down, or you've got a really low level of opposition. You know, Liverpool got to such a good level that we could start Divock Origi in a game, but obviously Divock Origi was a really good level football. He wasn't an untried kid. But I do think dynamic centre halves is it. Centre halves with pace, and it's why I think if we're playing left side inverted, so we've seen Simicast do it. Joe Gomez is absolutely perfect for right back for us, which is it's right back, but it's also right sided centre half. It's effectively the role that Ben White plays for Arsenal. I think Gomez is absolutely perfect for that, but I'm not overly convinced that Robertson is perfect for the other way, which is the way we're most likely to play. I think his natural inclination is still to bomb on, and that's cool, and that will benefit us when we are the possession-based side. We're totally dominating the game of football, and he's adding an extra threat out wide. We saw it against Bayern. You know, he got forward at really choice moments, but there's still moments where I think you need a more conservative player there. There's a reason why Nathan Ake, who is, let's be honest, he's not great, but he's functional. Getting a decent, you know, he's got good pace, good recovery pace. He's a good centre half. He's a good Premier League centre half, but he's not a world class one. But he is more suited to being a centre half and left back, defensive left back, whereas Robbo is a flying fullback. So yeah, more lads who've got that kind of dynamism. Nikhil, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Jamie Fleming says via Super Chat, do you think the Lavia deal is going to happen now, seeing the price demand from Southampton? Going for Andre, playing no one knows anything about is risky, where Lavia, you know what you're getting. Yeah, the thing is, though, mate, you've got to remember, do you? Do we? You know, do we really know any better? What I'd suggest is actually Andre's got 3 more years of senior football under his belt. It might be in the Brazilian league, but it's playing at a decent level in the Brazilian league. He's got Liverpool actually would prefer, I think, to target players like that. You know, I think Neil Jones has said it, that like they want like 120-ish senior appearances as a footballer, or you know, or yeah, is about what their ideal, because then you've got a bank of evidence. Lavia's got nowhere near that. He's actually, in some regards, even though he's played Premier League football, he's a much bigger gamble because he's still relatively untested at senior level. And I think I agree, it's a balancing act. You know, we looked at the Andre stats yesterday. He's got his areas where he's better than Lavia, but it's hard to compare him because he's not playing in one of the top 5 leagues in world football. He's playing in one of the next 8 leagues. But yeah, I agree. I think your statement is true, but it's true for both footballers. To be perfectly honest, is definitely a thing. But I do think it's going to happen. I do. I just think it's gone too far down the road. I just think that the simple reason behind it is that Liverpool are not going to be bullied, because there's a value to not being bullied, and we don't normally need to care about it. Again, and I just want to clarify this. This is not my opinion, by the way. This is just like this is me trying to work out why Liverpool do the things they do. Not that I agree with them things, and I think that gets lost in translation sometimes, by the way. But I understand why they play hardball on transfers, is because if you don't play hardball and you just go, oh, it's fine, then the next deal, you're less likely to get what you want at the time of that, and then that accrues and that builds up, and all of a sudden you might pay 5 million more than you want to pay for a footballer now, but then you pay 5 million the next time, and then it's 10 million maybe the time after that, a little later here, and all of a sudden when you're working to a budget, Liverpool are a self-sustaining football club. The owners have nothing to do with how Liverpool are actually, you know what I mean, actually run. They could go away tomorrow and the club could continue to run healthily without any input, and that's largely what happens. You need to spend what you've got. Again, I could do it. You know, I made a comment the other day about the difference between buy it now on eBay and auction. If you really need something but you're skint, your best bet is to go through auction, because you'll doubtless get it a bit cheaper. I put together our original Redmen studio. I had no money to do it. So I went away and bought and auctioned the first 3 cameras that went into our mixer. I could have bought them by it now for £800 a piece, but I managed to get them for £500 a piece, which gave us 900 quid, basically effectively saving. That then that was then put towards, well, I can get a few more extra bits, maybe I can get some better microphones, etc., etc. That's generally speaking in business how the budget side of things works. But that exists in isolation. In football, I'm not dealing with the same people time and time again. I'm not negotiating with the same. Next time I want to buy equipment and I've gone to the buy it now price, people don't go, actually, you paid 800. No, it's an auction. It's a blind thing. You get to pay effectively what you're prepared to pay. If that makes sense. But yeah, I do, Jamie. I do think they'll get it done because it would be wild at this point. I think there just comes a little bit of negotiation and back and forth where you're like, well, cool. We're going to flex our muscles. And at some point, everyone gets to save face. Lavia gets the transfer that he wants. Southampton get a fee close to what they think acceptable, but also get to do right by the footballer. And Liverpool get to say, well, we didn't get held to ransom over the top line price. That's largely how transfers seem to work. What is interesting though is that the Southampton manager actually did say in his press conference, I think it was either this morning or yesterday afternoon, Russell Martin said that Lavia is going to be involved in their match day squad for Friday, unless something happens basically today. So it will be interesting to see if the next sort of 36 hours are going to be pivotal in this transfer, really, because Southampton have got proper football games to win, and Liverpool have got to crack on with the last bits of their pre-season. Nikhil Paul back again says Højbjerg could be an interesting option for cheapish if Spurs are willing to sell. Experienced, circa 80% in possession, passing and defence, barely gets injured, Premier League proven, 28 years old. Yeah, and I think there's a few like him. There's him, there's Wilfred Ndidi, there's João Palhinha. He got an injury the other week for Fulham, but there's options, I think. It's just the moment prices are being really skewed because there's a lot of clubs. There's clubs like West Ham with 100 million to spend for a Declan Rice replacement floating around, and everyone knows they've got that dough. I think it'll be interesting once Liverpool have got Lavia in. If they get him for if they can get him for around 40, it's still a lot, but it's not ludicrous in that market. It gives them a real position of power to start negotiating for maybe the second choice potentially, if Andre isn't just the second choice. But yeah, I think someone like Højbjerg, look again, he wouldn't set the pulses racing, but if he's just a squad option, I think you have to be careful with squad options not to buy players who just aren't good enough. And often I do look at certain players and go, Southampton, you buy someone from Southampton, cool, we're about to do it again. And he goes to Spurs, sound, but if he's not being amazing at Spurs, why is he of a level that's good enough for Liverpool? I'm not entirely certain, but again, that's kind of the market we're in now. Is go and get someone who's got a bit of Premier League experience, who isn't going to expect to be a worldie for us. We'll be happy with the Europa League and be happy to be to fight for a place in the team. But it's a steady pair of hands. I'm not sure we'll do that, but that's certainly what I would do. So yeah, interesting shout there, Nikhil. Right, Sasha Tovaglieri, let's talk Lavia then. Tweeted yesterday evening, 6:45 p.m. last night. Liverpool ready to make a third and ultimate offer for Romeo Lavia. I understand the bid will meet the 40 million transfer fee expectations by Saints plus add-ons. Players side just waiting for LFC to activate, but informed the club his desire to join the Reds. There's a feeling the Klopp's team are the only squad able to do such an offer at that moment. Dialogue remains open as Southampton won't let leave his biggest sale of the year with the financial impact of relegation deal still on. Yeah, I mean, the talk is obviously James Ward-Prowse is being, I think West Ham have bid like 20-something million for him. And this is the thing, both of those players, James Ward-Prowse is probably a 25 to 30 million player, and they're probably the same is true of Romeo Lavia. But Southampton are being quite smart. They don't want to get bullied. That money's got to rebuild them. They've got to come back stronger in the Premier League. So it's brave of them to do it. But if they get left with those two players, then they're going to have a much stronger chance of promotion. So they're actually in a weirdly kind of a strong position. Depends. I actually don't know enough about their squad in general to know who they've hung on to, but they'll want to obviously strengthen. and they'll want to be able to come back up at the first attempt. And both of those situations are work for them. If they can raise 70 or 80 million pounds by selling James Ward-Prowse and Lavia, then that could potentially fund a build that gets them back up into the Premier League and puts them in a strong position. But it's interesting to see this is like, I think a lot of this is about what Liverpool are going to pay up front, and then what are the add-ons on. And if the add-ons are, it might be 40 up front or 40 in cash effectively, and then 5 or 6 in add-ons, gets them close to the sort of 50 million that they could potentially get from City next season. Feels about right to me, to be honest. Ross, who's been a member for a month, says hoping for any 6 at this point after yesterday. Look, I would contend. I've seen a lot of people talking about this, by the way, Russ, that somehow like Curtis Jones playing at 6 was the reason Liverpool didn't beat Bayern Munich. Liverpool were beaten Bayern Munich until like the 70th minute, at the point at which both teams made mass substitutions, and Liverpool made heavy changes and put a bunch of kids in through the middle of the team. I think there's a real question mark that 2 of their goals were probably offside anyway. And and look, I don't know. I don't think it was as much of a bad idea. I don't think we got beat by Bayern Munich yesterday because Curtis Jones was playing the 6. I don't think we'd have been hugely better for having one. I think it's a fair analysis to make, by the way, that I think we could have been better, and we likely would have been better, but I don't think Liverpool lost that game because Curtis Jones was playing in the number 6. But I think one of the good things about what we saw from yesterday, what Curtis can do is he's very, very good. He's very calm in tight situations on the football. 2 or 3 times where he was pressed intensely, because he's new to that position. He's played one senior game of football in DM for Liverpool, and it was against Norwich in the League Cup a couple of seasons ago. Obviously done in the 21s with England, but in a different system, and he was fine, by the way. But he's I think he's got the skill set in a game where Liverpool got the dominate possession. Whether he's got the ability to do the interceptions and be quite the physical dominance remains to be seen. But as far as a stopgap goes, I think he's okay. I'm not going to sit here and say it's great. And again, all of us, and I make this perfectly clear, would be largely wholly comforted by Liverpool buying a professional number 6 to play in a team that wants to challenge for 4 honours next season. It's an absolute no-brainer. And I think that's the most important way to look at it. Look, again, you can be upset about it and wound up by it, fine. But I honestly, the only thing I can say about this, by the way, is that you can get stressed about it and you can get wound up about it. But there's literally people who are being paid millions of pounds a year to be stressed about this, not us. For me, anyway, what I'm going to trying to do is look at what Liverpool have got, what they have got, what they can achieve. And I think Jurgen Klopp has been keen to stress that as well, is the situations. There's people whose job it is to work on those situations. Until that point, work with what you've got and try and achieve the best you can with what you've got. I do appreciate, and I feel it too, that it feels underwhelming right now that Liverpool are in a very, negative net situation just in terms of bodies in at the club. And it feels negligent. It feels massively negligent to let 2 defensive midfielders go, albeit I think we got good value for both of them. Great. Money's only useful if you've got things to spend it on. And yeah, that is what it is. Let's see. We got a super chat here from Russ. No, it wasn't the boys that were bad, but I think a true number 6 closes the space better. In truth, it's a pre-season game and energy was low due to training. Exactly that, mate. Again, there just seems to be a lot of emotional turmoil online going on around pre-season games, and I've seen it within matches. We've won like every game we've got 4 goals in every game prior to this one. And we should have scored more than 3. We should have scored more than 4 yesterday. We were playing the best team, by the way. There's a real note of encouragement. Liverpool could have scored 5 or 6 quite easily in that game, against the best opposition that we've come up against so far. And we did as well. We actually created big chances once we'd made those heavy changes and put a bunch of random kids. And we ultimately lost that game because a random 20-year-old kid scored the goal of his career from an impossible situation and angle that he could hit 100 times over and never scored again. And again, as pointed out and Klopp referenced it, heavy training session. It's pre-season. I don't need to keep doing this, but I do feel sometimes as though there's a bunch of people who watch pre-season games and don't understand the context in which they exist. So yeah, there's always extenuating circumstances. What matters is the footies. I've seen Liverpool lose every pre-season game before and then turn up and have a boss season. I've seen us look absolutely sensational in pre-season and then be dire when the season's begun. It, it's all an extension of training. It's what when it really matters is when it really matters. One more here. For AJ, big up Paul. Having a 6 coming before Chelsea is a major for me. The rest of the transfers, including a centre-back, I'm happy for that to drag. Just get a 6. Yeah, 100%. Completely agree with that. Liverpool need to get that box just for the comfort of it. And again, goes back to there's wider things at play. You need to to show a degree of strength. You don't want to look panicky. And you want the squad to know they've got it as well. But this is the thing. It's being worked on. I don't think there's going to be a situation where they're going to exit the transfer window without having bought in the required volume of bodies that they need. I just can't see that they'll do that. I think there's just too much riding on it. On the centre half thing, I totally agree. I think at the moment we're well stocked for the first 3 games of the season prior to the window closing. So I think we've got a little bit of manoeuvring room. I think the essential is to get the midfield rebuild sorted. And obviously they've taken fabulous steps towards making that happen. You know, in terms of Szoboszlai looks a really good player. Mac Allister looks absolutely fantastic. And again, Curtis Jones has taken a really big step. Again, no, that's not brought in, but it's the general health of the squad looks good. But Harvey Elliott was brilliant when he came off the bench as well. So things there are a lot of positives in terms of what we've got. But yeah, it very much needs to be sorted. And the centre half thing, yeah, look, at the moment we've got all of our centre halves are fit and they're getting used to a new system. I think it's okay. I think we need a genuinely brilliant left-sided centre half. But I just don't think. I mean, again, if Guardiola was available next summer, I think that's exactly who Liverpool would get. I just don't think there was the budget to go and get 4 new midfielders and a Virgil van Dijk, long-term Virgil van Dijk replacement. But if Virgil van Dijk comes back to a degree, gets back to his level again this season, which I think he will, he looks so sharp. I think the captaincy on him is actually going to get more out of him as well. And the same goes for the vice with Trent. If Virgil's better, if we have a bit more luck with Kanate, fitness-wise, because bear in mind, he just picked up a random knock. It wasn't like injury proneness that kept him out for the first half of last season. It was a freak accident in the last pre-season game. So we've got to get through Darmstadt, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just nowhere near as concerned about the overall health of the club as some people seem to be. I think there's a little bit of, I don't know, false equivalency or whatever. I think there's a little bit of getting lost in what other football clubs do. I've seen Liverpool. I think Liverpool's recruitment has been second to none for the last 7 years. Very few missteps compared to most of the football clubs. When you consider 50% a 50% hit rate is considered to be actually an excellent return on transfer success. Honestly, like through the history of transfers, there's been studies done on it. Liverpool have shot well above that, well above that. There's still work to be done. Absolutely. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say selling Fabinho was a good idea. I think it was a fucking stupid idea. But yeah, someone say this guy keeps preaching hope when there is none. Shut up. Shut up. There's no hope. If you're not happy with it, there's other ways to get your happiness, is what I would suggest. I would suggest if you can't get happiness from football without your team being guaranteed success, which is a thing that is impossible, then I would suggest you probably need to find some happiness elsewhere. Dally Pool with a good comment here. Do you think Ben Doak will get much game time this season? I honestly didn't, but the more I see of him in pre-season, he's still very raw, isn't he? But I think he could be a real X factor for us. I think he could be. I don't think he's going to start loads of games, but I'd be interested to see the Europa League. I would be happy for him to take a place on the bench. If we can use 5 subs, don't think he's going to come on every game. But if you're looking at a football, when we signed Diogo Jota, we had the front 3, and then all of a sudden, we'd had Origi and we'd had Sturridge, and they were fine, but they weren't the same fit for what we did. All of a sudden, we could take Sadio Mane off on 60 minutes and bring Jota on, and continue the same level and continue to go and go and go. And I think what we've got with the attack, and that's why I'm so excited about this season. Look at the attack. There's not a club on the planet they've got 6 attacking talents like we have, anything close to that. We've got the ability, I think, to put our foot on people's throats. I think we can go big from the start of games and not burn out, because you can throw Ben Doak on with 10 minutes to go and he's just going to go. And you come against a fullback who's just in pieces because Salah's been twisting him inside and out. And then Mo gets to go off, gets a clap, rest up, get yourself ready for the next game, Mo, and Ben Doak just comes on and just starts legging people. I think that's, I think we will. I think we'll see more of Doak. I was happy to see the same amount of Doak because he's still only 17, as we saw last season, maybe with a little bit more. But I think he's ready to make that step up. He's so aggressive. Love it. Kenneth Kane, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. That's lovely. Right, cool. What I would say, look, if you want to be miserable is what I'll say, but I would look at it and suggest that. And again, people say I'll just say it because I have to say it every now and again because not everyone watches everything. I don't have a great affinity for Liverpool's ownership. It would be lovely if we had a sugar daddy owner who could give Liverpool a little bit more, but ultimately, personally, I enjoy Liverpool being a safely run football club, one that doesn't gamble its long-term future, because this club means so much to me. This is our community. This is the heart of the city of Liverpool. This is where we were raised and where we were born. It means so much to people, not just in Liverpool, but around the globe. And if the wrong people came in and could run the football club into the ground, they might take it on, but to sacrifice the long-term health of the football club. There are a few operators in world football. When you take away transfer spend out of it and look at where Liverpool have grown from in the last 11 years, no football club has gone on that kind of positive journey. Could they do more? Yes. Do I want them to do more? Of course I want them to do more. And this is the summer where it needs to happen, by the way. But ultimately, what I want and what we all want, surely, is the best footballers for the job to come into the football club. And we've seen time and time again, lads that we wouldn't have picked. I think we'd have all picked Mario Götze years ago over Mohamed Salah. I think we'd have picked Julian Brandt probably. We'd have picked Götze over Mane. We'd have picked Julian Brandt over Mohamed Salah, or certainly lots and lots of people would. But Liverpool went and got these guys, and they went and did an incredible job. You know, this transfers are what they are. Liverpool buy what they buy. Jurgen Klopp has the final say on all transfers, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy to delegate degrees of my happiness to experts in those roles, and that's my overriding take on it. And Liverpool, bear in mind, prior to this ownership, didn't win a Premier League title and won one European Cup in 20 years or whatever, and got to 2 finals in that time as well. We're still living in the best of times. To hope that it could have been better in a variety of different circumstances is just fantasy, and it's unprovable. What I can look at is the stated evidence of where Liverpool have been under this time. I like it. I would have enjoyed it being more, but you know, it's been what it's been. I wouldn't swap the experiences we've had as Liverpool fans. I wouldn't swap the finals. I'd like us to have won more, but also, you know, you get to a final and then there's another 11 players who want to win that just as much as you do. That's football. That's the beauty of football. Right. Kenneth, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. Anyway, look, again, just be miserable, twat. But fill your boots, honestly. But don't think that I'm some sort of patsy and I'm pretending to be happy and pretending to be optimistic when I'm not. That's horseshit. If I was unhappy, deeply unhappy, you'd fucking hear about it. I'm deeply unhappy about people thinking that I'm pretending to be happy or somehow in the club's pocket. That is fucking horseshit, and that won't stand. And I will stand up against that. So if you think I don't have it in me to fucking be that I'm some sort of happy, clappy, fucking bullshit dickhead, no, I've seen the best of times and I've seen the worst of times. I just love Liverpool, and I trust in Jurgen Klopp and the people he's got around him and the players that he's bought to deliver our happiness. We hand our happiness every single season to the manager of Liverpool Football Club. And that's all we can do. If you think we're going to the fucking barricades to go with our burning stakes and pitchforks to turf out owners that are making sure that Liverpool is a successful and healthily run football club, then you're mad. you're mad. And that's not because I fucking love FSG. It's because I love Liverpool, is what it is. Right, anyway, fuck's sake. Kate, I forgot to put a message in my last super chat. So here goes. Why don't we just buy Decore? Problem will be solved. Yeah, maybe. But again, it comes down to it. We don't know ultimately. And there's a list of players, there's a list of targets, and Liverpool have got very, very smart people. Liverpool have got PhDs sat in the room with statistical data that we will never be privy to, and they're the ones who make these calls ultimately on what they're going to do. John Page says, who will replace Salah during the African Cup? Doak, Diaz, Jota, possibly Szoboszlai, I guess. Right. Matty Gorman, to be honest, Paul, I want trophies. I'd like Jurgen to be on a level playing field. FSG cannot compete in the Premier League. They need to go. Yeah, but you're right. But the level playing field, I agree. Look, and this is the thing of like life's a shit house, and it's like if you can't beat them, join them. I'm not comfortable with that. And that's just my take on that. And again, that's nothing to do with FSG as an organisation or whatever. It's just they could be any entity who are running the club smartly. And also, look, the fact that I've been this before, I don't want to get lost in this kind of thing. But also, they are not responsible for a particular like regime. In addition to that, by the way, they're not like decision makers in America. Like, let's be honest, if the fucking American government bought Liverpool Football Club, I would be really upset with that as well. But they're not obviously private wealthy individuals who want their sporting entities to deliver success, but within the framework of how the money that they generate. I honestly, I've got no problem with that. I agree it's depressing to live in the Man City era, but I would suggest rather than turning our angst on Liverpool's owners, turn them on Man City's owners, turn them on PSG's owners, turn them on the fucking Premier League and the FA and UEFA and FIFA, because they're allowing the playing fields to be unjust. They're allowing clubs to get away with cheating and breaking the rules and bending rules and going beyond and then covering it up because they've got more money to spend on lawyers. I don't see any reason to compromise our overall, and I say morals, it's a football club, it's a business. It's not, morals aren't quite the right word for it. Ethos, I guess, is probably a decent thing. It is what it is ultimately, and it's, again, we could go and join that sort of that world. I'm not sure it would be right. And also, by the way, let's just get this right. Liverpool could go and get mega rich owners and still finish second to Man City. The fact is, we with this manager and with the team that we've built around us and the players we've got, Liverpool have proven that they can run a team that sports washes, a team that basically bends and breaks every rule possible and fucking does all and spends just as much money on trying to cover it up as it does to actually make it happen. It perverts our thinking on how we judge our football club and how we rate them. And I know it's a shit house, but I don't know. For me, I think it's still possible to win silverware because we've won trophies. We've won every trophy there is to win, whilst Man City have had a bottomless budget and the best manager of all time and everything you can possibly have going for them. Man City have had it and Liverpool have managed to beat them numerous times to numerous different trophies. It is galling that we don't exist in the Man United dominance era where it was just two internally rich football clubs going up against one another. We'd have won well more titles if if this team existed in that era, but it doesn't. And gutted. I'd be infinitely fucking richer if YouTube had existed 10 years earlier. If I'd been able to start YouTube age 20 as opposed to age 26, I'd be fucking absolutely flying, but it didn't, and I don't. You know what I mean? And if it's just them things again. It can occupy your brain power as much as you wish it to occupy your brain power, is what I'd say. And I agree. I want Jurgen to have a level playing field. I do. That's obvious. Everyone wants that, but it's just not going to happen. So there's always going to be a richer club. There always will be a richest club. I like. It's very scouse to take the challenges that life throws at you, unfair challenges, unfair prejudices that get chucked your way just because you're from a certain place and you talk with a certain accent and whatever, or have certain political views, and fight against it and still come out on top. That's why we fucking love Jurgen Klopp and why we love the way that those trophies have been so much more pure because of how Liverpool have done it. They've not done it innocently. The money comes from somewhere. No such thing as innocent billionaires. But if it's been. I mean, I'm sure we can all admit there's been a vast the satisfaction we've got from doing it the way we've got has been absolutely brilliant. I enjoy toppling City. There's something about that idea that really appeals to me of like the team that should win every year and basically does win every year. When Liverpool, when Liverpool fall off it, no one else has come close, and there's all kinds of clubs trying all that types of different approaches, and they've come nowhere near as close as Liverpool have, and not come anywhere close to winning the silverware that Liverpool have won. So there we go. Anyway, fuck me. I'll be saying Romeo Lavia, and we win some football matches. Right, sounds. There we go. And what's this? The people criticizing you don't have 500k plus subs. It's not like people can have whatever. People can have critiques. I'm happy for people to say they don't like how my accent, or they don't like they don't agree with my opinions. But I won't have people question my integrity or morals who don't know me. That's fucking nonsense. That's fucking stupid. That's tantamount to bullying. And I'll be honest, we've all been, anyway, I don't know if you've ever been in a bullying situation in your life. Stood for it when I was a kid. I definitely don't stand for it when I'm a grown up. The people are wrong, they're wrong. But yeah. If we buy Lavia, here's one. We got all kinds of super chats. Thank you so much. I was going to wrap this up before I got lost in this. Eddie Ventures. If we get Lavia, can't City buy back next season? No, because their buyback clause is only activated if he's a Southampton player. That's their contract with Southampton. We would nip that off at the buds by signing him on a new contract. Matty Gorman. Back. What about Arsenal's owners? But what about Arsenal's owners? I don't understand. What is it about them that we want to discuss? Is it that they've spent a lot of money in the last 2 seasons? Well, they've had to, because they've been nowhere. They've been a Europa League team. They're on the climb. It's so much easier to get from 5th to 2nd than it is to get from 3rd or 2nd to 1st, and Liverpool have done that. And you've got to build. Arsenal haven't built a squad capable of challenging in the Champions League or in the Premier League yet. Liverpool went out and bought, and I know we could come back to this old Coutinho, blah blah blah, but Liverpool went out and spent big money to assemble a squad. They paid a record fee for the goalkeeper in Alisson, the record fee for a centre half in Virgil van Dijk. They actually inflated the market on the centre back thing, because they needed to go and get that player that was necessary to compete. They've gone out and built the squad, and they've actually done it cannier. If Arsenal are paying, people see Arsenal spending £100 million on Declan Rice as some sort of positive. That's a failure in scouting. That's a failure in negotiation. If you're paying £100 million for a defensive midfielder, and Declan Rice is brilliant, by the way, but he's a defensive midfielder. There's only so much he's going to add to that team. I don't see that as an admirable thing. I see that as they've done it wrong. They've done something wrong along the way. Now, look, you do always need to go and get your missing pieces. They're the ones who are worth spending big dough on, by the way. But Liverpool have done that. Liverpool do go and spend big money on the important pieces. They promote youth. They go out and get bargains in the transfer market and grow their value. But when it's necessary, they go and get best in class when they need to, and not necessarily most fashionable in class, because that's a different thing. That's how Man United end up with Cristiano Ronaldo back, who totally fucks the harmony of that team. That's how they buy Juan Varane, and he's a fucking joke. That's how they've done. Man United are the worst for this, by the way. They constantly get drawn in by the flash, who's the headline figure, who's going to sell shirts. No, buy a player, win football matches, then sell shirts. That's what Liverpool have always done. That's how they've always delivered success. So yeah, that's the Arsenal's owners. Cool. They're committed to getting Arsenal up to the top. Again, Liverpool have been at the top. Liverpool haven't got to the top by accident. Liverpool have gotten to the top because Klopp's been given the fucking budget and the authority to build a title-winning, European Cup winning and challenging football team over these years. He's been given the authority to put a team around him of absolute experts, from nutritionists, best-in-class nutritionists, and strength and conditioning coaches, and tacticians, and mathematicians, and PhDs in statistical analysis around them to build that. It's not just the players. It's not just the money you spend on the pitch, and then it's the strength to keep that tied together in the face of players being pulled and offers being coming in different directions. How you achieve it is irrelevant. It's that you achieve it. And Arsenal have achieved fuck all so far, by the way. Arsenal were top of the league and didn't even get into for all the season. And the second they got to the run-in, completely fell apart in a Europa League season. Arsenal are miles off being title challengers. Yeah, it is what it is. And again, fair fucks to them. They just want to be Liverpool. They'd be desperate to have the success that Liverpool had. There's not a football club that isn't Man City in this league that doesn't want to copy Liverpool's success. Liverpool have been the model, and every owner would want to do that as well. And why would anyone want to spend above and beyond what a club can generate in its own revenue? That's mental. It's only fucking people who've got ulterior motives, who are either sugar daddies, who are just mad and have got so much money to burn that they don't give a shit, or it's people who've got other ulterior motives, which is where the sports washing thing comes from. Oh wow, we're all out on it today. Hellstrom, P. Hellstrom. I hope we never sell the soul of this club to compete with Oil States. LFC is special. We should never sell ourselves short in that way, in my opinion. Yeah, look, time might change. It might come to that point. But until it can be proven to me that it's impossible to win silverware and challenge without being owned by a bottomless pit fund, Oil State or equivalent. Then I'd rather keep it this way. And we'll face that decision as and when it comes down the line. It's not ideal for me. I don't know how I'd feel if Liverpool were in that. I can guess, but I can't truly know. Liverpool won the cup double a year ago. Having nearly won and got to the Champions League final when City are no more or less dominant. City's control over this league hasn't changed. They've been doing this they've been building towards this for 15 years or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, look, I know, Matty. The way I see it is they back their manager because they believe in him and they didn't sell to buy. No, but yeah, no, and they are. But again, that's because they've realised that this is their opportunity. And he's right, they're backing the manager, but they're backing the manager from a lower position. They've got to get up. Their mission is to get into the Champions League. Every club backs their manager to get to reach their sort of ambitions. And Liverpool have absolutely backed at that stage. Liverpool absolutely back Klopp. And they've continued to back him, but in less obviously headline-catching ways of these things. But Arsenal, again, it's not sustainable what Arsenal are doing. Arsenal are not going to spend £200 million every summer. They're going to assemble their squad and they're going to run with it. And they've really only got another year or two to kind of get to that. And before, if they don't win stuff, players' heads will start getting turned, and that'll be a big challenge. Can Arsenal keep Saka and Martinelli, and can they keep Odegaard in 2 or 3 years when they've not won the Premier League or challenged for the Champions League? But again, that's their way of doing things. Liverpool's way of doing things has gotten them into 3 European Champions League finals, a Europa League final, 2 League Cup finals, 2 FA Cup finals, or whatever, or FA Cup final. We've won every fucking trophy going. Again, Arsenal can back their manager to their heart's content, but when they deliver, that will be absolutely fair. But again, they've done it mad, and fair play to them. Look, fair play, fair fucks. If it works, it works. It'll be a different way of skinning the cat, but it won't be a better way than what Liverpool have done, because it did have to better what Liverpool have achieved for it to become close to being better. We've had some member chats here, which I've totally missed. And we've got a new member, and I've not got the board. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to Kenneth Kane. I would write your name on the board, but I don't have it to hand. Your name's going on the members board as soon as I'm finished. Rabadam says, the value of the Norwegian oil fund has just passed £1,500 billion. Let's start a campaign to get them to invest. Yeah, that would be awesome. Probably, maybe. I don't know. Fucking hell. Let me do my research on that. Side of the Mac, it does sound like they've got a very, very sensible way of running the country, by the way, although the price of a pint over there is not something I'm looking for. Side of Mackham, who would everyone want as owner? Because it's only Saudis that have that kind of money, or Ted at Chelsea, who we all criticised last season. Look, again, I know. This is the fucking pain in the arse about football, is that we just want to enjoy our football club. We want our football team to be competitive. And that remains my argument. We've been competitive. That's all you can ever demand from your football team. You can't demand success, because everybody demands success. And finishing second to anyone in a close run race is not a disgrace. Being in the race is what you're aiming to do. And no one else has done that in the last 5 years apart from Liverpool. Right, sound. Here we go. What have we got here? Craig says, Craig Hennessy, listen to that crowd in Singapore made me feel like I'm a part of a big family. The pull of this club is amazing. Absolutely. Liverpool are brilliant. We're the best. We're very, very privileged to support this football club. The owners are very privileged that they're able to own this football club. And as I say, there are lots of people who are on on watch, on overwatch for how these things are done. This is why we have um, a supporters foundation. This is why Spirit of Shankly exists. It was set up in the face of being owned by absolute fucking shysters. And when lines are crossed, they step up and bat them back into line. And again, people can say people. The problem is that if you build it up in your head that it's a huge problem and it needs solving, you then start to find ways to question the position and the morals and the motivations of the people who don't seem to share your point of view. What I would suggest is people who are like this got this firm like FSG are the worst things that ever happened. Just try to think outside your own bubble in that kind of thing. Try to think, imagine a world where the people who don't think the same way as you actually have thought of why are they thinking that way, and because I've seen a lot of like, well, it must be because they're in the club's pocket, and I can honestly tell you they're not. Nobody's in the club's pocket. It just doesn't fucking exist. So counterintuitive to so much of the logic as well. The idea that Liverpool's owners don't care and don't invest money, but would somehow spend money on putting fan media and fan organisations in their pockets instead. Fucking, it's it's I love the words for how mind-shittingly fucking crazy the idea that could possibly be true is. But yeah, try to look outside your bubble. Again, I do, and I do. I don't. It's not about a lot. For what I do, it's not so much about opinions. It's about I have my opinions on stuff. I like to try and fathom out what they're doing. I like to work out what Liverpool's motivations are, and get on that. Lad, as of last season, we finished fifth, not second. But absolutely, look, it was a shit season. I don't. But what are you trying to prove? What's your point? Is that we're trying to say, look, it is a bad season, absolutely. And Liverpool have had a couple of bad seasons. But the thing is, everyone makes mistakes, and and you're right, when you're not run by a basically sports washing organisation, the margin for error is far smaller than that. Liverpool have got to get up and running this season. They have to, and there will be. And I've said this before. I've said this time and time again all summer long. This is a huge season for Jurgen Klopp, and it's a huge season for Liverpool's owners, because if they can't get back into the top four, then there's going to be massive questions asked about both of them. And that will be on both of them, because that's their mission is to make Liverpool as successful an entity as possible. I think Jurgen Klopp wants to succeed, and I think FSG want Liverpool to succeed, because I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Because again, if they were penny pinchers, there's no value in Liverpool not being a Champions League team, because it makes the value of their assets smaller. It's stupid. Again, this goes back to these are just fucking really basic fucking points that get totally overlooked. Instead, it's mad. I genuinely find it mad. Anyway, there's a fucking hour for no reason on 3 bits of basically nothing news. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Well, I'll keep going while the super chats. Here we go. Simon Mac, 30 years supporting LFC. Opinions are just that. Just be respectful and be reasonable too. Things could be better, but we could be Evan. Fucking A. We are genuinely still, for a team that finished fifth, there's a reason why players are choosing us over teams that finished in the Champions League. There's a reason why Cody Gakpo is a Liverpool player and not a Man United player. There's a reason why Dominic Szoboszlai is playing for us and not for Newcastle United. Both of those clubs have got the money to compete with Liverpool. But Liverpool have got the ability, have got the drawing power. We are the envy of the vast majority of clubs in Europe. We just are. And it was a shite season last season, and nobody's trying to hide from that, least of all Liverpool's manager. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. Let's just hope that they can pick things up. But ultimately, the worst thing is that what happens if they don't? Are you going to stop supporting Liverpool? No, we have to support Liverpool come thick and thin. The only thing we can do is pour as much power and energy into it is to supporting the team. Because if we can I would suggest, and I know it's hard if people don't go to games, but if I can put a fractional 0.1% into the legs and by just shouting a little bit louder or screaming more of my soul onto the pitch, then that's what I'll do. That's the only thing we can do. And I get it. You've got a big platform, you can talk sound. And when I genuinely believe that there's a big fucking fight to be had, I'll use it. People forget I used a much smaller platform than this to fight against Liverpool's last owners. We did. We were at marches and we were covering things when the mainstream media weren't doing it, and I'll do it again. It is what it is. So yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for joining me. Try your best to chill. Try your best to see things from a more rounded perspective of things if you can. But feel free to be entrenched in your views and be miserable if you want to be. Everyone's entitled to their own misery. Other than that, we'll be back with more shows. I will see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra. Much for checking out the show today. If you need more Liverpool content in your life, whether it's podcasts, videos, interviews, or great Liverpool documentaries, head over and subscribe to redmenplus.com today. It funds everything we do across all the free platforms, and we give you amazing content each and every week.